Okay, so we want to use the best possible map. And we may need a map that takes into account the complexity and the diversity of reality beyond the simple ones that are widely available. We maybe need to be able to get our heads around something that's more difficult, more convoluted, more interrelated with each other. We want to use the best map possible. And the tool that we can use for this is something we call systems thinking. Now, I'm not sure whether this video or the one that's next to come ought to come first, because there's an issue. Well, you may want to see them out of order or go back and see this one again after you've seen the other one. But in any case, being able to think in systems thinking is inherently complex. It's a product of complexity science. Now, thinking about systems is important. To be able to know what a system is, that's not systems thinking. And thinking systematically, doing things in a systematic way, that's not what system thinking is either. So I'm going to be able to give you some examples of systems thinking. But first of all, we need to make it as simple as possible so we can get our heads around it. And Derek and Laura Cabrera have done a really magnificent job of doing this, for kind of breaking down how we can think, how can we make it simple to think in complex terms. There are 4 tasks that we need to be able to do and then kind of hold all 4 of them together. One of them is that we have to be able to make distinctions. We all make distinctions all the time. You can't go into the garden and weed the garden without knowing what is a seedling and what is a weed and what am I keeping and what am I getting rid of. But the capacity to make distinctions is more than saying which category am I going to put this in. It's also the capacity to see that all of the elements in a single category are actually different from each other. We need to be able to make distinctions between any 2 objects in such a way that we understand the diversity of reality. So the first task is making distinctions. The second thing is to be able to think in terms of systems. And a system is it is itself a kind of map. It's a way of understanding the way the world is, that says there are all of these different elements, and these elements are in relationships with each other, and there are processes, and they form these various things. And so how does the system, which is a pond with the frogs and the lily pods and the sun and the sunlight and the water and the rain and the pH of the water and there's all of this different stuff that's a part of the system that makes the system function, and it may be in balance or it may be out of balance. So we need to be able to think about and understand just what a system is. We also need to be able to understand that the elements within the system actually they have a relationship with each other, and the relationships themselves have certain qualities. So it's not just I know that this is above that or below that or next to something else in there in relationship with each other. It's what are the qualities of that relationship? That is a part of the complexity of the whole system. So how well does the mayor get along with the chief of police? And what does it mean that the CDC is no longer receiving information, but the COVID cases are going straight to the White House? Right? What is the nature of the relationships in which all of that is happening? So we need to make distinctions. We need to understand systems to see that they are in relationship. And perspectives, we've already talked about perspectives. That capacity to be able to see that different people or different elements within the system understand what's going on from different points of view. And that all of these perspectives are in their own way valid, and none of them is complete. They're all partial. So our capacity to do systems thinking is dependent upon being able to see all of those perspectives, the qualities and the relationships between the parts, to see that how the system is functioning, and to notice that all of the nodes and all of the relationships, that they are all in some sense distinct. But our capacity to do these 4 things and to be able to hold them together allows us then to begin to think in terms of systems. And so when we think about the problems of the structures of racism within our society, that's a very complex system. It's got a long history. It includes all kinds of pieces like redlining and Confederate monuments and So, you get it. It's just like incredibly complex, and to be able to get our heads around it, we need to be able to use these tools. All right. So that is systems thinking.